Okay guys, in this video I'm going to be covering personalized designs, and I mean personalized, text-based personalized. Okay, I'll do an image upload one in a separate video. We got a lot to cover. It's a lot more complicated than doing a non-personalized, so I'm going to point out everything you need to know so you understand it and you know how it all works and you can do it. So I'll point out anything that I think you should be aware of and that as well. So first of all, you need to come down to your products on this menu on the left hand side, hit create new product, and then I'm going to pick a t-shirt again because it's just easy. Remember from the last video, we never mix light and dark, so I'm going to go for black only. Continue to sizes and pricing. If you want to adjust your pricing, this is where you do it. You can add it by percentage, or you can type in the fields here. You can also remove any variants that you don't want in your listing. Okay, entirely up to you. Hit continue to product details, add your name of the product. So for me, I'm just going to call this demo personal. Okay, your product description there, you can edit that if you want to, entirely up to you, or you can just, I really recommend you do it at the other end once it gets onto your website. Okay, and I'll show you all about that later on. Hit save and continue. Okay, now here, if you remember in the last video, we used this for non-personalized. Do not use this for personalized. Okay, whatever you do, we need to use this standard background for the personalized stuff. And don't worry, if you want to change out your image on your website on your other end, you can do that. Okay, this doesn't have to be on your website. Okay, you can make your own mock-ups for that, or if you've bought any of my packs, they come with mock-ups that you can use. So first of all, we're going to upload the artwork image, and I'm going to go for this one because it's nice and easy. Now if you've bought a design pack from me, you will have, for any personalized designs, you'll have a folder that says art PNGs, and within that folder you'll have it with personalization and no personalization. And essentially what that means is, with personalization are PNGs with the wording on. So in this case it's just this bottom word down here that's personalizable. Some of them will be completely text based and you'll have different fields, and some of them will be more simple like this. Okay, so that's with personalization, so that means it has the names and ages or whatever in there, and you can use those PNGs to create mock-ups, and that's all they're for, is creating mock-ups. The one with no personalization, if we have a look at that here, it's not so clear here because it's just a blank space, but if it was a text-based one, it might say, you know, there might be an area for name, then age, then location or whatever, and it'll have blank spaces where the personalization should be. These are the images that we use to add into Lockerstock to create our product within Lockerstock. The reason it is blank like that is because, first of all, I'll show you in a second how we add those words in within Lockerstock, but the mechanics of it is basically there's a file, your design is stored there at Lockerstock. The very end user on your website will type their name in, and then Lockerstock will take the correct font and the words that have been typed in, and it will take your PNG and it will make a brand new PNG with the correct words on it all on its own, and then that's what's going to get printed. So we want to pick the one on dark that has blank areas for personalization. Now of course this is a very straightforward, easy one. Some of them have multiple lines of personalization, and what I'll probably do is throw in another line actually so you can see a couple of lines. So first of all, you position the main design on your shirt or product, whichever product you're doing, position that. That's straightforward. Next thing we're going to do is add the personalization. So for this one it is Tromblican, not entirely sure how to spell it. Now we need to choose our font, so I need to find out what font it is. So if you bought a design pack from me, you will have, for any personalized designs, you will have a folder called fonts, and that's very straightforward. You can go in there, you can double click on that to install it, you can right click on a PC and install it if you want to use it. In fact you don't actually need it for Lockerstock, but The second way, if you don't know what the font is, if we open this up in Photoshop, the PSD, make sure your text tool's selected here, and this is quite good because I can tell straight away that it's got this exclamation warning mark over here, which means I don't have this font installed on my computer. So if I put my cursor in where the font is, making sure I've got the text tool selected, it's telling me here I don't have it, your fonts are missing, right? So what Photoshop will do is pick another font for me, hoping that it's the right kind of font, and it will do that. But here's what you need to do. If you come up to this is just another hand, right? Now for Lockerstock and Printex, they have to be Google fonts, okay? So dead easy to get your fonts, okay? And Lockerstock, if they're missing a font, I mean there's lots of Google fonts, but if there's one in there they don't have and you really need it, they'll add it for you as well. So I've copied this from Photoshop, okay? Now with my design packs you won't need to do this because it comes with a font. When it gives you that warning in Photoshop, it'll all be one word, so you've got to add the spaces or it won't find it. But here is that font, okay? So if I had another PSD, not bought from my packs, but if I had another one and I needed to find the font, I could come to Google Fonts. I've just downloaded that family. I can show it here and find it. It's zipped up. I can unzip it there. I can come in here. I can then double click, because I'm on Mac, I can double click that to install it. If I was on Windows, I'd right click. That font is now installed on my computer. So now if I go back to Photoshop, I'm going to cancel that. Make sure my text tool is selected, drop my cursor in. The font's now installed, so I'm not getting the warning and that's not there. Okay, so if you want to find fonts for Lockerstock, make sure you only use Google, and that's how you can do that. So we know it was just another hand regular, so we can use the drop down there, start typing just another hand regular. There it is. Font color. Now let me show you this as well. Of course this is white, so it's super easy, but if it was some random hex code color, you can select your text tool, put your cursor in, and it will show you up here in this box what the color is. If you click it, it brings up the color palette or the color picker, and then you can down here in this area, which is probably behind my little window, so let me drag it up here. Here is the hex code, okay? So if this was a strange random color, when this color picker is open, as we drag our cursor away, we can see that we can hover anywhere on this canvas area, and we can just click and it will grab the color that we want. So like I say, this is white, so it's really easy. But then we can highlight this, we can copy it, click cancel, back over to Lockerstock here, and then we can paste that hex code right in there like that. Okay, now like I say, it's white, it's dead easy, so you can actually click this and it brings up this palette where you can just drag it around, and sometimes it is actually a bit tricky to get it bang in the corner there, but there you go, that's done. We want it aligned in the center. Some cases you'll want it aligned left or right, you'll just have to make that decision. Here we can adjust the size and position. For the position, I've never really used that at all because you can drag it around on the screen. Not sure if you ever would want to use that, but we'll see in a minute when we actually add it. I'm going to take a guess at 45 for height, and here is our personalization layer. So this is what I mean by dragging it around. So I'm not sure, I've never used that positioning thing, I'm not entirely sure about that, but really you don't I don't think you need it, to be honest. And if we go back in here and click this again, you can see that these are filled in now in you know, representing its position. So I don't think you really need that, to be honest. I'm not sure about it. So this little box here, what you want to do excuse me, is I keep meaning to speak to him about this. I think there's a little bit of a glitch in it, but if you grab it here, it goes haywire and then you have to delete it and start again. So always grab it on the right. You can see I can stretch it in and out, and if I stretch it too small, you can see how the letters get smaller and smaller. So you want to make sure this is as wide as you can guess the width of the actual design there. Okay, so you want as much space as possible for the person to type their name in, because if you have it set small and they start typing a really long word, that is what happens to the text. So you don't want a shirt that gets printed like that with the tiniest words on it. Okay, you want it to represent what they're actually seeing from your mock-ups. So give yourself as much space as you can on the width there for these personalization parts. Okay, so that's that done. And what I'm going to do, although this design does not have 2 layers of personalization, I'm going to add another layer, just in because you will get designs that have got multiple layers. So I'm going to add another one. I'm just going to write Matty Boy in there like that. I'm going to change the font out just so you can see a different font. Any old font will do. That one. Oh no, Lobster, I like that one. An old classic. I'm going to change this to red just so you can see the difference. And then instead of 45, let's just go 60. Just huge it up there. Oh dear. Yeah, so I just made a silly mistake there. What I should have done is click add new row. So what I will do is put the other one back in. Okay, this was, forget the name of the font now, Just Another Hand. Start typing. Just Another Hand regular. This was white here, and this was centered. Okay, so I'm going to pull that one down. Oops. Pull that one down, stretch it out wide. Move this one up. So what I might want to do maybe is go back in to click edit personalization. This one here, let's reduce it right down to 25 so it's smaller. There you go, and then you could increase that up like that. Now there is another thing I should actually point out at this point. It's worth testing. Let's go back in and edit this. If it wasn't all caps, you want to just test, depending on the design, you want to test like you know, like let's go TJ. What else is high? TJ. You want to basically test. Let's do a capital J, a little J, a little G. You want to test. See this here? See how these J's and G's go down? So if you do have 2 layers of personalization and you're using caps and lowercase, be aware that some of the letters will go right down and some of them will go right up as well. So just punch in some things and names and stuff so you get a good idea, because you may need a wider area there, because if I'd had this right under here and they typed in G's and J's, then that's going to be overlapping. So bear that in mind and keep that in mind. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to get rid of this one. Oh, wrong one. Basically, I'm going to try and fix this. Trump. Okay, and this was just another hand. This was white. This was 60. Okay, I just want to put this back to how it should be so that we can push it out to our store. Okay, and I think that could reduce that down to 50. Okay, perfecto. Okay, right, that's it. Save and finish. Okay, so as with before, you can edit the name if you need to edit the name anytime. You can edit the description here if you want to. I recommend, you want to get the name right, but I recommend that you do this on the other end. You can add additional mockups and tags if you want to. But remember, they only push across to Shopify. Here you can download the mockup or the completed image, and you can view your SKUs for combining or manually adding as well, which I'll cover how you can just use Lockerstock without an integration, although it'll be tough. You can view SKUs. Here, this part here is very important. So here we have the option to hide our personalization fields. So what that means is, if you hide the personalization fields, it will hide them over on your platform, and I'm pretty sure they work differently on different platforms. So we'll take a look at that when we push them over to different platforms, and you will need to make a decision when you push them over how it looks on your website and stuff, and how you want it to work. So it really does depend. So if we have it set to yes, and you're on, say, Shopify, they will not see the personalization fields on the product page. If we have it set to no, then they will see it on the product page. So I recommend that you watch the video that I do when I start pushing them over, and then we'll come back in here. We can always come back in and we can always change these settings at any time on the fly. So what I recommend you do is watch the pushing videos when I push out from this account, and then you can make a decision on, you can see how it affects the other end then, because it will all be different. Auto fulfill, I 100% recommend you start any personalized product off on do not auto fulfill. So when it auto fulfills, it's going to be taking the personalization the customer puts in, it's going to be making that PNG image, and then it's going to be processing your order and printing that image without any input from you at all, or any overview. So I always recommend you have it on set no at first, and what that's going to do, it's going to hold it back for you, and then you're going to see it before it actually gets printed. So if it is bad, and you know when I was saying how the text gets smaller, or those little J's overlap, you'll catch it at that point before it gets printed. And if you have a t-shirt that takes off and you're selling loads of them and they're all wrong, then you're going to have to foot the bill for that, and it's bad. Okay, so I, without a shadow of a doubt, recommend that you always have it set to do not auto fulfill. The number of fields, so if we added if we had multiple fields here, we could change, you know, it'd be 1, 2 or 3 fields, which would then appear here where it says field placeholders. So here it's pre-populated what I typed in on the personalization field. So it might be an age, for instance. So you could put here, add your age here. Okay, although this one's not an age one, but that's what you could put right in there. Add your age here. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. And that will give them like a little bit of an instruction in that placeholder, so they know what to type. This description here, this is what shows on the preview pages, so I will cover that, and we'll see what that does when we push it over, and we'll see how that affects things on the other end. YouTube embed code is where you can actually embed a video on the personalization field, so you could have an explainer video and you could explain to them what happened. And then your global script embed here, this is where you can add your tracking codes or live support code here we got to talk to, and perhaps I'll do a video on adding or talk to, or where to get that code from if you want to use talk to, which I highly recommend, and you've probably seen it on my site. I use it, it's really good. So this part of things here we'll drill into when we actually push across, because it will depend what platform and how you personally want to handle it, your side of things. Okay, and that is it for manually personalized. So it's pretty straightforward. Can be a little tricky, can be time consuming, but once you've done it a few times, once you understand it all, it's actually quite easy. So I'm sure you'll be alright. Okay, with that said, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now, guys.